Namibian school sport policy.
Yes, I'm here. You going live now? Yeah, but how long can I sit like this? The leg gets tired, it goes up. So there's no COVID briefing, you said, right? COVID update, okay. And the caller on the line, the guest? Is the guest with us or not yet? The caller, yes. Mr. Kunani.
It's delayed with 15 minutes now.
Come again?
It's delayed with 15 minutes now.
Yeah. This. Okay. It's a good one. In between there. Okay, sorry. Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to the Government Information Center. My name is Sylvanus Loto and I'll be your moderator for the day. Our topic of discussion today is the status of sports in Namibian schools. Joining us in studio today, we have Mr. Patrick Percy Gahoop, the chairperson of the Namibian Schools Sports Union. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And we've got Mr. Erwin Javira, the acting director of sports under the Ministry of Sports, Youth and National Services.
Good day.
Mr. Kunani, are you there? Can you hear us? We have another guest on call. I'm just making sure he can hear us. While Mr. Kunani joins us, our topic of discussion today is the status of sports in Namibian schools. Participating in schools while young offers students a number of benefits, including staying in shape, learning how to work as a team, mental health, and not forgetting reducing the risk of stroke, high blood pressure, diabetes, and enhancing their attractiveness as school applicants. But taking in mind that when athletes focus on sports too much, they get to neglect their academics, focusing solely on winning. But however, a distinctive balance between sports and academic has to be maintained within the school system. Mr. Kunani, I believe he's still not there.
Hello.
Mr. Kunani, afternoon, sir. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. On the line, we have Mr. Sitwala Kunani, and a sports coach and a teacher by Sachona Combined School in the Zambezi region. Mr. Kunani, we'll start off with you.
Okay.
Do you have sports activities at your school, and how often are they conducted?
Oh, yes, we do have sporting activities at our school, and that's mainly athletics, soccer, netball. These activities, soccer and netball, are conducted every Wednesday in the afternoon, and also we also have training sessions, open training sessions that takes place from 5:30 to 6. It's an open training session whereby even people who are not learners do participate in this training. We also have other sporting activities such as athletics that are conducted during the first term, and also soccer and netball mainly during the second term of the trimester when we still had trimesters. Now that we have semesters, I think soccer and netball will also be in the first term.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kunani. Mr. Hagu, is there a relationship between sports and physical education? And if yes, what is the relationship between the two?
Thank you so much. Physical education is the education of sports, basically. And the relationship that we have regarding physical education with sports includes the development of the learners physically, for physical fitness, their strength, the flexibility, as well as their sports skills. But most importantly also their psychological and social skills. Because you get that most of the learners that are exposed to physical education and sports develop social skills that are based with life skills orientation, where you are sharing a ball, where you are sharing activities together, where you have team coaches, team captains,
yes.
which brings in the leadership aspect of developing a leadership aspect of the, and then you have basically the discipline in that regard. So basically, but whereas sports is more of a competitive nature or a challenge, and which brings a definite outcome with regard to their physical skills that have been developed. So it is very imperative that these two, in terms of physical education, which is the education of sports, is complementing each other.
I see. Thank you very much. Well, generally speaking, Mr. Njavera, sports activities in schools are known to be very good for exercise of minds in the body of the learners. But apart from this, do you think that sport activities contribute to the life of learners outside of school in relation to their careers in the future?
Thank you, Mr. Lotso. Most definitely. I think Mr. Huarup have summed it up very, very well in his opening remarks there. The learner going through, or a learner that participates in sports, normally is be seen as a good citizen, because the life skills that that person pick up can be summed up in as the discipline aspect, the teamwork between the learners and also adults, respect for each other, listening skills, listening to instructions. These are all goes with life skills that a person needs to be a good citizen, but also, you know, your endeavor going forward, whether it's in your job or whether it's in business or wherever your careers will take you. You need all these life skills, and sports in particular provide sufficiently those skills. So normally a child or a learner that are practicing sport fit easily into any system to work with others, also in any environment, in short. So those life skills provided by sports is actually good.
Okay, nice one. In neighboring countries, learners that are financially crippled and that exceed in sport activities are given sponsorship to further their studies here and there. What has the two ministries, which is of course Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Youth and Sports, done in schools to assist those learners who excel in sports in Namibia? Mr. Kunani, are you there? Mr. Kunani, are you there? Okay, while we wait for Mr. Kunani, Mr. Njavera, perhaps you'd like to...
Yes, I think for the two ministries, I will speak on behalf of Ministry of Sports. We are fully creating the conducive environment for school sports through funding of the Namibia School Sport Union. That is the body that is in charge of managing and running school sports countrywide. In their programs to make sure that sport activities in schools takes place in terms of national teams that are participating, to have leagues, to have selections of teams that are excelling, and also to take them to for international exposure. So you can look at the number of leagues that are being played around the country at school level, at primary level, at secondary level, and this is where most of your athletes that are absorbed in teams later comes. They are starting at that level at schools, and the ministry provide that environment. We also have an MOU with the Ministry of Education to bring in that component of physical education as well as training of teachers. From time to time, the ministry also provide equipment, sports equipments and so on. But lately, because of funding, that have dropped a lot, and we are looking forward this year to reintroduce where our sport offices around the country, some sport equipment which schools can, on a booking, borrowing system, and take it, use it and take it back. So in short, the ministry provide funding, financial resources, and at times also we are funding towards coaching and coaches. We have a program with Germany, a bilateral agreement, where coaches go for training. There's a number of coaches that have come through that system. Ricardo Manetti is one of them. Coach Woody Jacobs came through that system, and so on. So we also have Cuban experts through bilateral agreements that are coming to transfer skills here.
Okay.
So from equipment to financial funding to experts and capacity building, we do contribute towards schools and learners as well.
I see. For those that are currently just joining us, this is the Government Information Center. Our topic today is the status of sports in Namibian schools. Mr. Kunani, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You did hear the question. Perhaps you can give us your opinion on that, sir.
Sorry, your network is cutting.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, again.
Okay. The question was, in neighboring countries, learners that are financially crippled usually get sponsorship assistance, especially if they are excelling in the specific sports or athletics. What has the Ministry of Education and Arts and Culture done to assist those learners who excel in this sports?
Thank you for that. The ministry supports the schools by including sport activities on the educational calendar. If learners distinguish themselves through various phases of the competition, they go far. Like, for example, for instance, I'll say Mboma and Masilingi, the two greatest girls for a time, they are good in athletics, and so that is the competition they distinguish themselves in. And so you can see how far they have went and how far they have progressed.
I will say something.
Yeah, the only difference between Namibia and South Africa when it comes to sports is that we are a small country in terms of population, so it's hard to distinguish the sports that people are good in, especially when it comes to learners. So you find that even in our schools, we have a less number of learners, and then the sporting activities that we stick to is mostly soccer and netball plus the athletics. So you find that there are learners who might be good in other sports, but then those learners cannot get a chance to do those sporting activities, and so that puts those learners on a disadvantaged side. But when it comes to SA, the SA has, like South Africa has a huge number of learners. I mean, of people, the population is huge, and they have a lot of sporting activities. So that makes it easier for learners, easier for people to scout the talent.
I see. Well, thank you.
I think that is it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kunani. Mr. Khakub, perhaps you'd like to say something on that.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. One aspect that we need to thank the government of the Republic of Namibia is the cabinet resolution that establishes the Namibian School Sports Union as per the Act, and based on that, the Namibian School Sports Union is governed by the Constitution. So this Act has enabled us to develop, administer regulate and coordinate all sports activities and functions within the borders of Namibia, which is initially the mandate of the NSSU. This act also gives us the authority to govern and control 12 sports codes, of which athletics, basketball, chess, cricket, darts, gymnastics, hockey, netball, swimming, and tennis are initially part of it, volleyball and rugby. So the whole other number of sports codes are administered through the national federations, of which the Namibian Sports Commission, as well as the Ministry of Youth and National Services. Now, I am happy that the Mr. Erwin Javera added on the MOU, which was signed between the Ministry of Basic Education and the Ministry of Youth, Sports and National Service. Now, this MOU enables the Ministry of Basic Education, which is the custodians of all the learners. The learners that are school-going are falling under the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. So with that said, we have successfully, through the NSSU structures, convinced the ministry that the two Namibian dollar deduction, which was the affiliation fee, of which we had numerous challenges, has been resolved because of the efforts of the regional structures of the NSSU. Now, what happens there is that for the question, what happens is that 2 Namibian dollars are deducted for all the learners that are within the region. And these regional funds enable sporting activities to be funded on a regional level, as well as enabling all athletes to have that conducive environment to participate in whatever sports they find themselves in. So with that said, the regional structures, of which the NSSU have 14 of them, is responsible for financial accountability, as well as providing audited reports in terms of the $2 that are deducted from for the learners, and which is utilized on regional level. So that is what the Ministry of the Basic Education did, Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture did. And then the Ministry of Sports, as Mr. Javera has already indicated, is wholeheartedly funding the Namibian School Sports Union in terms of athletics. Transport is provided by the ministry. Officials brought all the athletes that are participating and qualifying for national events are brought forward. And we must be thankful with the limited resources that the Ministry of Youth and Sports receives. They are doing their utmost best in catering for the Namibian child. It is also the responsibility of the corporate world outside to see that the structures of the NSSU are financially accountable in terms of the funds that have been provided to us through the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. The directorates within the respective regions deduct this money, funds, and they allocate it directly to the Sports Executive Committee, which then is accountable to the regional director and the regional accountants to account for this money. So in that sphere, the platform has been created. The financial accountability aspect and audited reports are provided to the directors, and for that I can say we are right on track.
Nice. It gives someone a soothing heart when they hear accountability there.
Absolutely.
A school with happy and healthy learners in Namibian structure or anywhere else is destined for success, though minding the financial constraints that schools are facing themselves after the removal of schools development fund in government schools. What has the schools done to ensure that the learners are happy and are physically fit regarding sports or being active in sports? Mr. Kunani.
Thank you. In our Namibian context, the government has these grants, the education grants that they are giving to schools, and this maintains the usual activities that we usually conduct prior to the scrapping of the school development fund. And this education grant that the schools are receiving, I think it's $5 per learner that is directed to sports. And then from there, those $5 are the ones that are used for affiliating, also for funding for these sports activities. That is from the part of the government. Then we also engage various stakeholders and the business community at large. Sometimes they chip in with donations or sponsorship packages to carry out certain initiatives to the benefit of our learners. Find that there are business people or maybe who would sponsor tournaments, free tournaments for schools, and then our learners will register and take part in these tournaments. We also approach other business people to sponsor our learners, maybe with buying the uniform or jerseys, and also the balls. And this money that the government is bringing in schools can also be used for the balls. The only problem is that this money is few. I mean, it's little. Yes.
Okay.
We also have business people who sponsor soccer tournaments for schools. Like in Zambezi region here, we have an example of Kumboka. It's an annual tournament that is being sponsored by Kumboka company. Though this one is for primary learners only, and so it's very difficult for learners who are in secondary to participate in this tournament. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kunani. Mr. Khwakub, would you like to add something on that?
Yes, the sports is an integrated, is initially integrated within the curriculum. So schools are getting, and I can assure you right now, that schools are doing everything in their power to create that platform for learners to participate in sports and become fit. The perception that physical education was neglected is true. However, there are specific areas where teachers go out. They make possible. Athletics is one of the biggest. Currently, it has been boosted. We all know why. The platform of soccer and netball, hockey, chess, it's only not other type of sport like soccer and netball that are currently enjoyed. Swimming, hockey, cricket. You would be surprised how many schools that were previously disadvantaged are currently engaging in cricket, hockey, swimming, and we are performing. And these are all activities that are being created for learners to excel, bring out their talent, as well as to make themselves there on the platform to perform and excel. Thank you.
Thank you. Sporting events are essential because they teach learners qualities such as leadership, integrity, discipline, sportsmanship, teamwork, and so on. How does the Namibian curriculum cater for sports in a school setup? Mr. Khwakub.
Well, sports is integrated in the curriculum and it doesn't really stand alone. If you look at the junior primary in terms of the curriculum, You have the gross motor control skills that must be developed, which is the arms, legs, and the whole body. And this you do by jumping, running, etc. And then you have the fine motor skills that are being developed, which is the eyes, the fingers, and the tongue, and basically. So, and then you have the spatial awareness where the child must be aware of himself and the objects surrounding him, him or her. And then you have the whole body image that must be developed. This is now in the junior primary phase. This is also essential in the, most of the people will probably think, why do we have a playground at a pre-primary or a junior primary phase? It is to develop those skills that are needed for sports and all other activities. Basically, once these children are developed correctly at the junior primary phase, they move up to become skilled athletes within their respective domain, whether it is athletics, whether it is soccer, netball, rugby, or whatsoever. And as I see, even cultural activities are part of the development of sporting skills. Because if you take a dance within the specific cultures, you must perform certain rituals at a specific pace. And this is the holistic development of the sports within the curriculum. So it's a sports integration within the curriculum, and it's well brought over the whole sports.
I see. Well, thank you. Mr. Kunani,
Yes.
from the Ministry of Education, how does the Namibian curriculum cater for sports in this sector or in the school setup?
Can you repeat that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. How does the Namibian curriculum cater for sports within the school system or the school setup?
I can't get that, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, although your network is cutting.
Is it? Okay, I'll repeat it one last time.
Okay.
How does the Namibian curriculum cater for the sports within the school setup?
Okay, the Namibian curriculum accommodates sports activities in various ways. First of all, the competitions are held during school days, just to confirm that. And then there's sports and education. Yes, it's just to confirm that sports and education are interwoven. Secondly, during the major sports events, the representatives from the ministries are there to grace the event. And also, thirdly, the sports calendar is set by the ministry, which is the main stakeholders in education. And then we also have physical education as part and parcel of the Namibian curriculum. It also shows that the Namibian curriculum accommodates sporting activities. And also these government grants that we are talking about, or the education grants, they also include that $5 for learners. For each learner. It shows that the ministry and the two ministries are interwoven.
I see. Thank you very much. The annual sports event of the ministry was held in 2019. Please explain what led to this and what was the way forward, Mr. Javera.
Right, you're correct there. We used to have what we call mass sports program, regional mass sports program. It was mostly hampered by funding from the national coffers, and the ministry really go through a very difficult time. So at one point we have to scale down and eventually suspend these games. But we have planned now for the 22-23 financial year to bring back where each regional sport officer will come up with a program within his region to cover all the constituencies so that, that those programs can kick off again. We are preempting by the second quarter to start with all the activities until the last quarter, the fourth quarter. So activities are planned, they are coming, so we ask the regional councils and the communities to get in touch with the sport officers in their regions, also to contribute input, what type of activities they want to happen in their regions.
Nice one. Perhaps we can have a general discussion on from different ministries. Like, how will the ministry, or how has the ministry been promoting the importance of sports in schools, or the steps that they have taken to implement this?
Well, I want to start by saying that when the Maselingas and the Bombers make the stage at international level, we have so many corporate and so many individuals coming to the fore and trying to be part of that particular limelight, but also appreciating the talent there. But however, we are struggling on the ground to have the same impetus from supporting the Namibian child, developing into becoming that excellent talent that we want. So I want to urge the corporate Namibian and individuals that can to look at the schools programs so that they can be supported. It is there where you identify the talent. It is there where the financial resources, the technical resources in terms of proper coaching is needed. So in terms of what we are doing as a ministry in terms of supporting the schools there, as I said before, it's, we do give the funding for those leagues and those activities to take place. We also, through other bilateral agreements, try to find platforms where to take our athletes out, to be seen outside, to be scouted at international level. I remember in 2009, we took a team that we selected here for the Coca-Cola Cup under 15 to South Africa just as a pre-run before the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. So they were playing on the side just a few days before the World Cup. And there were a number of athletes there. I have to mention that Peter Shalulila was one of them. So that is the type of contribution that the ministry is putting to the fore. We know all the talents and the level where Shalulila is. The ministry do contribute to some sort of funding, but we need to take hands and push it together.
I see.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful outreach there. Look where Peter Shalulile is now representing the country. Mr. Kunani, are you still there?
So,
Perhaps you can give us your short opinion.
hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. How has the ministry been promoting sports at the school level? Or if they already have been, like you say, there's a couple of activities that have been happening already. How has this come to be implemented?
The ministry should support schools with adequate materials, I should say, and sporting activities, so that they can enhance these sports in school. There should also be an introduction of more sporting activities besides the one we already have, just to scout a diverse of talent, from our learners. And in our case, there are no measures yet that have been implemented, but I do believe something should be looked into. So for now, we just go ahead with the normal sporting activities that we have, the one that we already had. And so, yes, I think the ministry come in here so that sporting activities should be taken into consideration, or maybe taken to another level, especially in our region here.
Okay.
It's just something that is not up to standard, I would
I-
say.
Nice. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kunani. Mr. Njivera, you wanted to add something?
Yes, one of the bigger projects that the two ministries have been embarking upon through their MOU is to the establishment and the launching of the IPES policy. The IPES is Integrated Physical Education School Sport Policy, the first ever in Africa for at school level. It is currently with the National Planning Commission for clearance, and then it will be soon to become a policy, hopefully in the second quarter of this year. So that is like the framework, the roadway to transform school sport and physical education in Namibian schools. It touches also on part of the curriculum, what should be in that curriculum at physical education, what type of training teachers should get. It touches on what need to be achieved at school excellence, those athletes that really makes it, can they be molded at the school of excellence? And also it touches on the reform of Namibia School Sport Union. So a total reform where the current institutions need to now adapt to the new policy and achieve the objectives of those policies. So we see that as a very good development because the objectives and the goals are streamlined, both for school sports but also for physical education. So in short, that is the new development that will be coming soon. And we also have, through that, have piloted what we call School for Development programs, where the ministry, with the support of GIZ and UNICEF, with a policy, have also contributed to introducing a few pilots. These pilots is training of volunteers, teachers, and sport officers in the southern regions, and I think Southern Juba, where the volunteers and teachers then can, as part of the sport activities, also give teachings on the life skills aspects. And we expect that to roll out to the other regions as well. So that is one of the bigger components that we have done so far between the two ministries in terms of contribution.
I see.
Yeah.
Mr. Njavera, this one it goes to you again. What challenges has the ministry encountered while trying to enforce sports or sports activities within the school sector? And what solutions has the ministry come up with to be able to implement these ones?
Well, the bigger challenge will always be the financial resources. That remains a challenge. We know why. We also have challenges with supplying of sports equipment. It's all linked to the finance again. Technical experts, that is the coaching experts. Mostly in your rural areas, you don't have the experts to, when you find talent there, to actually train. So what we have done, we have capitalized mostly on our partnerships with other countries through multilateral and bilateral agreements, as well as development partners. We know that GIZ and UNICEF, UNESCO to some extent, have been the driving force for these reforms and the policy. We have the agreements with Cuba, where we have top coaches coming into our country, but also some of the Namibians go and train in Cuba in sports and physical education. We have a number of them deployed in Namibia. We have the agreement with Germany, where actually two of them with Germany, one with the Republic of Germany, the Federal Republic of Germany, in terms of taking our coaches there, as I've said before, the Ricardos, Woody Jacobs, and so on. We have another agreement with the region of Westphalen, where every year there's a sport exchange program. We take an under-15, under-17 team to Germany, Westphalen regions, they bring, but through that is also components of boys and girls and also teacher training that goes with. So these are components that we capitalize in the absence of financial resources. Of course, we continue to employ and explore other means. We are currently in negotiation with some possible investors in terms of school sports.
Nice.
We hope that it will become a reality. There is also a program with CAF through the NFA that we hope to see materialize this year. There is also a proposal on the table under negotiation thus with Real Madrid in terms of sending coaches to train at school level. They will train our people, and then these will be the master trainers to train soccer coaches. We'll start with Ashipena if the agreements are successfully signed, and then it will be piloted out to other schools. So in the backlog of funding, we also try by other means also to overcome.
Nice. What a beautiful, bright future we have in our...
The future is bright for Namibian sports. I think the euphoria that Masiliki and Boba have brought forward, the Shalolilis, you see the number of people on the roads and in the gyms and also participating, and that have also gone down to the school levels. The number of skills kids at schools now, they are so enthusiastic by that euphoria that they want to run. So Namibia can easily achieve the levels of Jamaica. If you look at the comparison of Jamaica and Botswana, for example, we all have the same populations, the same resources. We just need to put the right impetus where it belongs in terms of developing our people, and our learners, the right way, and support them. We will achieve there. So the future looks bright.
Nice, beautiful. Mr. Ragu, what mitigating factors are put in place to tackle such challenges in future if they were to resurface?
Well, what we have in Namibia is a very powerful, ideal situation where the Namibian child can choose to participate at free will into any sporting code that they can. The government is in support of creating that platform, the conducive environment for us to partake. It is notable that we have a shortage of financial assistance. And this is where we need to appeal to the government to set up a sports levies to all the big corporate companies. I mean, if you look back to the yesteryear, where we have a very renowned Frank Fredericks. Frankie Fredericks was the best of the best that was developed by Rossing uranium mine. We have Frank Gayela, who was produced by TCL, the Chumeb mining. We have Nestor Tobias, who is today a renowned promoter, who was developed by CDM. And this is where we are saying that as sports, there is a sports fund with the National Sports Commission. Okay. But this sports fund might be empty because there is no funds to sustain this fund. So what we are saying is, let us lobby our politicians to get the political will behind these sports so that each uranium mine, whether it is a mining sector, whether it is big companies that come and do business in Namibia, they must pay sports levies, or they must be taxed to get sports levies so that these levies can be utilized as a sport fund so that we can develop more athletes. Remember that, and this is what we need to bring in terms of what I think, so that we cut off this lack of funding for sports. Because sports, you can put in money, $1 billion in an athlete, but you don't get it you don't get it bad, but the athlete is benefiting. So it is high time that we must get the political
Push and will support. Okay.
behind sports, and not necessarily to have politicians come and congratulate Boma after she has achieved that platform. And indeed, it is time for us to say sports can become a living in Namibia. We can make out a living with learners developed in the right frame, and then at the end of the day, sports can become a remunerator of individuals at different platforms. So that is basically what I would say.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Khwaku. Mr. Kunani, hope you can hear me. Mr. Kunani, are you there? Okay, just to have our last remarks, Mr. Njavera, perhaps you'd like to have our last remarks before we cut off?
Yes,
Short and simple, maybe?
there is definitely a bright future for school sport with the new reforms coming on. We are just urging all Namibians and all corporates to come on board. Sponsors can come at the regional level, they can come at school level, they can come at national level at the school sport union, because there is always activities taking place. Whether they want this year we want to focus on bringing back the school leagues, because that was the epitome of development, and there have always been rivalries between schools. So we are looking at where sponsors can provide balls and other equipments, supporting the leagues, regional leagues, national leagues, and so on. So if you're in a region in Zambezi or the Karas, you are corporate there, you can sponsor the league there, and it contributes to development and talent identification. Thank you.
Mr. Njavera. Mr. Khwaku, perhaps final short seconds?
Yes, all what I can say is there is a lot of duplication of activities within Namibia. For example, the Namibian School Sports Union has structures throughout all 14 regions. So there is no need for duplication in terms of other, we have nowadays academies that comes in personally made by, which is not wrong. It is good for but the academy cannot compete in a league or have its own league run parallel to that of the Namibian School Sports Union. That's where they duplicate. Now, if we want funding, it is two that must get funding instead of one. And this is where we are saying that the structures of the Namibian School Sports Union should be utilized for all developmental activities of school sports. There is no way that we are going to support academies that are running competitively against the Namibian School Sports Union. We are there by act, and we are functioning under the rule of the law. And therefore, Namibian school sports is in good hands.
Well, good to know, Mr. Khwaku. Thank you very much. This was the Government Information Center. Our topic for today was the status of sports in Namibian schools. My name is Silvanus Loto, your moderator. Good afternoon.
Sure. We are there.
Okay, good.